información. Vamos a hablar ahora en el primer segmento con Doug Newcomb, el cofundador y coproductor de esta conferencia que se realizó recientemente, Connected Car Conference, hablar sobre tecnología, seguridad, datos de privacidad, internet y muchas otras cosas sobre la actualidad y el futuro de los autos. And now we're talking with Doug Newcomb about the Car Connected Conference that recently happened in New York. How are you, Doug?
I'm good, Javier. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for having the time and sharing this information with us. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but this is a very, very important topic that it's driving the tendencies in the auto industry, right?
It is. I mean, as I usually say, Javier, technology, if you look at how many industries it's changed, whether it's music, publishing media, which you and I are in, communications, medical, I think now it's affecting cars and automotive, and we're going to see that more and more in the future, just how technology is transforming the automobile as well as transportation as a whole.
Yeah, I guess in the past, 5 years, we've seen more progress in the auto industry, more changes in the auto industry that we have seen probably in the last 50, right?
Yeah. In fact, that's right. I mean, again, that's just how technology is transforming automotive. And here's the thing, everybody these days wants to be connected. I mean, we're all connected 24/7, almost anywhere we are, with smartphones and tablets, devices. People want that connectivity when they're in the car as well. In fact, some would argue that you need that kind of connectivity in the car more than other places, because when you're out driving around, you're looking for directions, you're looking for, where to eat, where to get gas, if you're in a accident, to get services, that sort of thing. So, I think that there's just so many compelling reasons to have technology and connectivity in the car. And when you mentioned that, then you think I was at an event for Mercedes-Benz recently, and they said that they feel like their perception is the car is going to change more in the next 10 years than it has in the last 50, and because of technology.
So all these things are great. I have the privilege of testing new cars every week, and I've seen these changes, and I guess we are spoiled because we see them like firsthand, and now we can't imagine a car without some of the great technology that we see. But for some people, there's still that question: if this helping for now, or is becoming a distraction because there's so much to learn in a new car.
There is, and that's some of the things we talked about at the Connected Car Conference, C3, as we call it, last week in New York City. Because here's the thing, Javier, I've been covering, like you, I'm a journalist, and I drive a different car every week, so I see it firsthand. And, while the technology has a lot of potential in the car, there's a lot of issues to overcome, whether it's driver distraction, which we talked about, privacy and security, and all this data flowing in and out of the car. We also talked about kind of how the car is becoming a network device, and, we talked about it in relation to the Internet of Things. And we talked about self-driving cars. And that's just a portion. There's issues with, big data. There's issues, as you know, with infotainment systems and user interfaces. Again, for like the third or fourth year in a row, car makers got hit really hard by J.D. Power's initial quality survey because customers are really frustrated by their infotainment interface. So it's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of challenges before we can kind of get to that point.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention that J.D. Power and Associate initial quality study, because it's not that the systems don't work. In some cases, they don't. there are glitches there, but it's more like the learning curve from the user, right? These great things, but if it takes you a week to learn it and you get frustrated, that's a problem. So there's a lot of education need to be done, right?
Exactly, and that's why you're seeing companies like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Lexus, Cadillac actually putting specialists in the dealer. In fact, BMW calls them geniuses, kind of like taking a page from Apple. And then we're also seeing it, with Chevy. They have certain, I forget what they call them, but technology specialists in the dealers to teach people how to use this technology. And what we've seen in the last couple of months, in fact, just last week, Google announced their Android Auto, where basically the Android phone, you plug it in, and there you have, the familiar, user interface from your phone in the dash. And Apple did the same thing with CarPlay led to the Geneva Auto Show. a couple months ago. So it's kind of interesting to see these two big tech giants kind of moving in. Basically, a lot of people perceive it as saying, okay, well, you know what, automakers, move out of the way. We know what we're doing here. Let's just have people plug in their phones and we'll take over in the dash. Which makes sense in some ways, but in some ways doesn't. So it's kind of a very interesting time right now.
So not only like they put in their technology. I mean, Google announced its self-driven car recently too. And what's your prediction on that? Obviously, that was a prototype. They say they're gonna come with more defined details on that. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm reading some articles this week where Detroit or the automakers and Google kind of have divergent paths. Automakers have been working on self-driving cars for quite a while, and as you know, some cars can almost drive themselves now with all the driver assist systems. Lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control. So automakers are kind of taking that approach, slowly building on these technologies to self-driving car, where Google's just going right for the self-driving car. In fact, the car they released doesn't even have a steering wheel or pedals, if you can imagine that. They imagine a world where you call a car, get in, it drives you where you want to go, where automakers are taking a different route, looking at still selling cars, obviously, but, cars that in certain situations on the highway, for example, they can pretty much drive themselves.
Yeah. Until that time comes and when cars really drive themselves and there's like absolute safety, I mean, they're aiming for zero accidents and zero deaths with those kind of technology. For now, it's still pretty bad. At least here in Florida, where I live, the laws against text driving and talking on the phone are pretty much non-exist. I mean, and that's pretty bad. So I guess that technology is one of these cases where technology has gone much faster than legislation and other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's another issue, and we had someone from NHTSA on National Highway Transportation Safety Administration on the distracted driving panel at the Connected Car Conference, because you're right. I mean, that's a whole separate but related issue is the regulation, and NHTSA and other parts of the Department of Transportation in Washington, as well as on the local level, are really trying to get their hands and heads and laws around this, because, as you mentioned, it's changing so fast. They're trying to create laws and regulation based on technology, but the technology is changing really, really quickly, as technology often does. I think that's a key part of it is crafting laws that one doesn't hamper the technology, but two, keep people safe and as they're meant to be.
Yeah, and on the other end of the spectrum, I guess, at least from what I see, I don't have like official data for this, but I think people are getting better, which is bad anyway, like to do it, but I think people are getting better at driving with the phone in your hand. I know there's still accidents and there's like a huge potential for bad accidents, but like in that case, I think at least some people are getting more used to that.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you're right. I mean, accidents have been dropping. It's a lot of different factors for that. I mean, driving dropped as well during the recession, but there's been a steady decline in accident fatalities. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think, part of it is, better, safer cars. There's cars now that mandatory, they have ABS, traction control, things like that. NHTSA is looking at other safety technologies. But here's the thing. I did a study once where NHTSA, it was a combination of NHTSA and also some research in Germany. They found that if four advanced, safety technologies or driver assist technologies on a vehicle, see if I can remember them all, it was lane keeping, adaptive cruise, collision prevention, and I think it was ABS was the other one. 33%, that's a third of highway fatalities could be reduced. And that's why you're seeing NHTSA having such a look at this. I mean, the way I often explain to people, you think that first they had seat belts, and then airbags, those were kind of passive restraints. Those protect you after an accident, from being injured. Now they're looking at technologies, as I described, driver assist technologies that prevent an accident from happening in the first place are mitigated, like collision prevention that will automatically apply the brakes, before you hit something, like you see in Volvo. And, so we're starting to see that. And again, it's just the effectiveness that they've seen that this could really reduce accidents. Because, look at it this way. Humans, everyone likes to think they're a good driver, but, we get distracted,
Yeah.
So I think that's another, we talked about, Apple and Google and infotainment, but that's another whole aspect of the connected car, safety. And we haven't even talked about, what NHTSA is doing in the government with their vehicle-to-vehicle communication. They're doing a huge study, they're wrapping up now in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where they have 3,000 cars outfitted with vehicle-to-vehicle communication, so cars can communicate with one another.
Yeah.
So obviously, lots going on in this space. And again, sort of kind of coming full circle, I really feel like, technology, it already started, as you mentioned, but it's really going to transform, cars and automotive.
Yeah, we're talking with Doug Newcomb, the organizer and co-producer of the Connected Car Conference. And Doug, is there a website where our audience can go and look for more information about this and all the things that you do?
Sure, yeah. So I have my own website. It's DougNewcomb.com, DougNewcomb.com. And we also have posted some of the videos, and we'll be posting all the videos from the Connected Car Conference if people want to check them out. And I'm also going to be having highlights from that. And then I also formed what's called the Connected Car Council. I've got some of the top thought leaders together in the connected car space to really talk about and figure out some of these issues, and also help me plan some of these events that I'm doing. We're doing another event in Silicon Valley as part of the Western Automotive Tour in October.
Okay, Doug, I'm sorry, we're running out of time in this segment, unfortunately, but I'm going to post all this information on our social media pages so people can stay connected with you and read all about it. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Javier, thank you. Good talking to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Este programa fue una producción de National Latino Broadcasting.